Kaboom. Good to go.
Like your cutoff shirt you got tonight.
No sleeves.
It looks good.
It's the
Death Row Records.
Remember when you threw that 90s party?
Yes.
This is the shirt I wore to the 90s party, and I just cut off the sleeves, so now it's like a nice summer shirt / workout shirt.
That seems like a solid mowing the lawn dad shirt.
Oh,
right there,
it's a
or power washing or anything like that.
Yeah. It's a perfect going out on the front lawn and waving to all the neighbors.
With your Death Row Records shirt on. That's classic.
With a Death Row Records shirt.
That's fantastic.
With the skeleton hands throwing up the LA.
That is perfect. That is fantastic. It's very you. It's very you.
It sure is.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Josh.
And this is the PUDs Podcast. So what's going on, buddy? We're coming off a hot episode. Hot takes and literally 2 hours and I think it was 2 hours and 20 minutes long that Bad Larry came out.
Yeah, that was a big content episode. We had a lot to fit in. We probably could have went on for 3-4 hours if we really dove into it and pulled up all the albums and stuff like that. And probably would have wanted to, but it's too much.
Yeah, I've been getting some feedback from different people with corrections and things. And I actually did think for a little bit about we could correct things or add tidbits with my little Nick voice cut-ins there.
Yeah.
But dude, it would have been first of all, I wouldn't have been able to get the episode out when I did. And second of all, it probably would have been over 3 hours if I went through and started adding stuff. It's where do you stop with the information? I'm sure it's cool to hear it and stuff. And I'm we had to cut it off at some people. And the same with the snubs too. I've heard from a few friends that have already listened being we probably had 20 or 30 snubs each if we really were thinking about it and sitting there. It would have been, I guess it depends how long do you want to listen to us talk about the Apple Music top 100 albums, but apparently people are enjoying it from what I heard so far, so I'm pretty stoked because you did some work on that one too, and I think we all were, including Spencer. Yeah. Spencer did a great job, like we said. Welcome back anytime, Spencer. I had a lot of fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll come back too. But yeah, no, it was a lot of information. It was fun to share, and obviously by no means are we experts on any of that.
No, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad people are enjoying it. I'm glad we got some feedback on it, some correction, and I think did somebody text you the answer to the question of whether or not the bassist for
yes,
was it Metallica?
Yes, the bassist of Metallica. That was Jake. Jake reached out with some info around that.
Yeah.
So
I think he said basically that he was alive during the recording. Yeah, he was alive during the recording. But
correct, but he passed away on tour, right? I believe it was.
Tour,
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thanks, Jake, for helping us out there.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Jake, who also does not like Oasis that much, so there we go. I'm about that. Jake's a good dude.
Apparently, my take was not as hard as I thought it was. I don't think. Like I said,
pretty
I think
hot.
Oasis,
You said you thought Wonderwall was an awful song. So that's pretty hot. I agree with you.
It's not a good song.
And another little tidbit, and then we'll keep rolling here, but of that Jake gave me too, thanks Jake, was that Alanis Morissette got her start on Nickelodeon on the show You Ought to Be on TV. So I did not know that. She's
I didn't know that either.
The Nickelodeon family and all that.
Do you remember that show?
I don't remember it at all. I think it came out before we were born.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't on TV as much anymore.
Yeah.
When we would have remembered it being on. But yeah, some little tidbits. So thanks, Jake. Hopefully people enjoyed it.
Man.
Oh, speaking of while I'm thinking of feedback, I did want to mention we enabled a little thing on our podcast platform that actually lets you send a text message to us now. So there's a little link on whatever platform you're choosing to listen to us on where you can actually text us if you want to. And we get kind of a nice little message, which I guess is just an alternative to the other platforms we're on. But I just thought that was pretty neat because you can just do it right from your phone. It'll spin up a little, probably like a virtual sort of number, and it goes to a mailbox and gets to us. So if you have feedback on that episode, which it seems like a lot of people have a lot of thoughts already from what I've heard, shoot us a text message. Or if you have any opinions on anything else. If you just want to say hi to Josh and his Death Row Record shirt, then just shoot him a text.
Just drop us a hey.
Yeah.
We'll take a hey every once in a while.
Yeah, so I think we agreed that we're going to skip Nick's music moment tonight because we just did a bunch of music stuff. So I'll postpone the album that I was going to throw out for that. I think we had enough.
Hold on to that.
Yeah,
keep that one under your hat for now.
Yeah, I'll keep it under my hat for now. I like that. I like that saying. Sounds very smooth. So yeah, you want to get into the main topic?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, so I think for tonight's main topic, we're just going to do some catching up on some of the hikes that I've been up to. He's going to give some information, some stats. Last weekend, got up to Galehead, or I should say I ended up hiking Galehead with the Trekker Treats Alzheimer 48 team, so that was pretty sweet. I'm glad I got to tag along with them. Some really cool folks. Got out to the Reckless Hiker celebration and met some fans, so that was kind of cool.
Sweet. Yeah, that is cool, man.
That was interesting. That was pretty neat.
I was so happy to see that you made some connection with people, and that there's people that we don't even know that are actually partaking in our nonsense that we're doing each week. So
yeah,
thank you guys for continuing to listen to us, and glad you guys got to actually meet Nick face to face. And I wish I could have made it, but Spencer, it was his wedding shower, so I couldn't miss that. Couldn't miss it.
Damn it, Spencer! Couldn't push it like a weekend for us.
Couldn't bump it a week.
Couldn't bump it for us,
That's
man.
All right.
Yeah,
that's all right.
It was a good time. And to be fair, too, it's kind of funny in the day and age we live in where it's, these people on Instagram and their handles and stuff. And it's funny how many people are like, oh, you're like, a couple of people were like, oh, Nick hikes and plays guitar and they know me from the podcast and stuff. And it was just kind of funny. And I knew their Instagram handles and stuff. So that was pretty neat. But like I said, the group of folks was great. But I'll dive into that a little bit later, I guess, chronologically as we go through this.
Let's do it.
So yeah, a couple weeks back, I was heading up was planning to do a hike on the Saturday with Mike Trokey. You look up the date on that, Josh? You get a calendar of when that was, 2 weeks ago on a Saturday. I try to give those details or whatever.
The 30th. No, I'm sorry, the 1st.
The 1st. Yeah, that's right. It was on June 1st. So Trokey is working on his seasonal 48 like I am right now. So he kind of proposed the idea of doing isolation, trying to go out and get that on the 30th, or the 1st, rather. On June 1st. And obviously we're still in the spring season until the summer solstice, so we got probably a couple weeks left at this point. We're kind of getting down to the final stretch. But he wanted to bag isolation, which anybody that has hiked isolation before for their 48 is kind of aware it's a weird mountain. It's very isolated, no pun intended.
No,
from everything else. I don't know. I really don't know the details behind the name, but it's very fitting. Mike Trokey put it really well with isolation, because if you look at it on a map, there's no really good way to get to it. It's kind of like there's no direct trails leading to it, which is kind of interesting. But getting a little bit ahead of myself there. So anyways, I decided rather than trying to wake up super early, because the distance and time to Pinkham Notch from our house, it's like probably about 4 hours, something like that, like 3 to 4 hours, like minimal time from where I live in Rehoboth. So I opted to drive up the night before and kind of try to sleep up there and get a little bit more rest before waking up early and meeting Mike Trokey on the 1st to kick off our hike. Ended up kind of working it out. So I kind of drove up a little bit at lunch, so I was just a little bit closer to New Hampshire, and kind of just ended up working remotely to wrap out the day. And figured I'd check out a few small things, small hikes or waterfalls or whatever, and kind of was doing some research. Just things that I've driven past a bunch of times, but never really actually decided to just get out of the car and do them. The first thing on the list that I ended up checking off was the Pondicherry Wildlife Refuge, which is on Airport Road off Route 115. I think it's probably in like the sort of, I believe it's probably in Jefferson. I'm not sure exactly which town it is, but that's generally where you find it. I've seen pictures of this place a bunch of times, have driven past it a bunch of times, never actually checked it out. It's a really easy hike. It's like 3 miles round trip to Cherry Pond, which is kind of the sort of the namesake, I guess, of that wildlife area. And from Cherry Pond, you can actually see fantastic views of the Pilot Pliny Range. So you got like Wambeck, some of the other mountains heading in that range, and then to the other side, you've got sort of the northern presidential range leading up to Washington. And I believe you could sort of see the edge of maybe Eisenhower, depending on where you were looking from, but you've just got this really cool wide open view. And the trail there is super easy. It's actually along the Presidential Range Rail Trail to get to it, which is more or less flat by New Hampshire standards. Like it's maybe goes up 40, 50 feet, which is like pretty much nothing. And wanted to call that out too, because I figured it'd be a super cool family hike. Like we should definitely like go check that out together.
That's the rail trail.
Yeah, the Presidential Range Rail Trail. Yeah. And that runs, it's like kind of a biking trail, and I'm assuming it was a railroad bed by the name of it. But you kind of take that off the road for 1.5 miles to get to Cherry Pond.
How long did it take you to get to that point?
Like hiking time? Or like
driving.
Oh, driving? It's probably like a little over 3 hours. It's a little bit past where Route 3 and 302 meet around Twin Mountain. If you kept heading north on Route 3, the next major route that you hit and off to the right would be 115. So 115 kind of connects from Route 3 to Route 2. So you kind of go through Jefferson, and it's got really awesome views if you just drive that road.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty easy to find, pretty easy to get to. Like I said, super great views of the presidentials and sort of Wambeck and stuff. Really peaceful area. There was some like beaver dams and stuff and tall grass. The only thing that wasn't peaceful was the amount of mosquitoes that were around there. It was absolutely ridiculous, which probably isn't surprising given the time of year. But I think I made it maybe a half a mile without any mosquitoes. And then once I felt one biting me, I must have had like 7 on me. So I broke out the heavy duty DEET bug spray. And yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I was going to shower that night. So I'm like, whatever, dude, like just put that on and not get bitten by anything. But they were insane. Even with the bug spray on, they were still, I didn't end up getting any bites, but they were just in my face. They were all over my camera and stuff. And they were going fierce for sure this time of year. After I checked that out, I kind of was debating what to do. So I looked at a couple different waterfalls to check out. I know there's one like near the Wildcat ski area that I hadn't checked out. I was thinking about maybe checking out Glen Ellis Falls, which incidentally, the parking area for that is actually the one for Glen Boulder Trailhead as well, but it's closed right now and it's under construction. So just be aware of that if you're looking to get to Glen Ellis Falls or hike the Glen Boulder Trail. There's still ways to get to Glen Boulder Trail, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but I was kind of looking at the time. I sort of had this idea of like, I'd really like to try to like photograph some more like sunsets and stuff in the Whites. So I had what turned out to be not so great of an idea, but I wanted to go up Square Ledge in Pinkham Notch, across from really like Mount Washington, the Presidential Range. It's right in that area where the Appalachian Trail crosses from the Pinkham Notch Visitor Center across Route 16, and kind of heads up the Wildcat Ridge Trail. The Square Ledge Trail is sort of just a little half mile or quarter mile maybe branch off of the AT, and it heads up about 400 feet total from the road, so it's kind of a short and steep little jaunt, but I thought it would be good for sunset because it faces west. The thing I didn't take into account was the fact that the highest peak in the Northeast basically was between me and the sun setting behind it, which means that which means that even by like 10 of 7 when I got there, the sunset was pretty much dropped, or I should say really the sun at that point, it wasn't changing any colors or anything. The sun had pretty much already dropped below Mount Washington from where I was.
Man.
Square Ledge isn't high up enough to get it. I think you'd have to get up further, but I'm like, I'm already here. I ended up shooting some time lapses and did get some really pretty pictures looking towards, you could see Adams and Madison sort of off to the north, which was pretty neat. You could see some of those nice cotton candy clouds and stuff.
No nice silhouette, like a silhouette of Washington, no? With the sun behind it? No? Is that not how it works?
No. Well, I should say, if you were up high enough, like if you were on Washington and looking to your east, yeah, like you get it. Or if you were on a mountain, like in that range, but because like Square Ledge isn't that high up, I don't even know if it's like 2,000 feet. It's a pretty small little ledgy mountain outcropping thing kind of on the eastern side of Pinkham Notch. But yeah, so for the future, I'll know not to like go that low. Like I probably would have had to get up to like the Wildcats or something to really see more of a sunset behind Washington, but live and learn on that one, I guess. It was just funny. I kind of get up there and like, oh, okay, I can't really see anything right now, but I guess I'll just chill here. And nobody up there on a Friday night, which I thought was kind of cool because to me it was a very easy hike and a pretty chill spot. But nobody else even up there. Yeah, dude, I had it all with myself. Hung out for a bit, shot some photos, ended up just chilling for like 15, 20 minutes. And because of the the daylight this time of year was kind of wild. Like it was probably like 8:30, 8:40, and I'm like, oh, I probably should get going down, get back to the hotel, like have some food quick, and like go to bed. And like I hiked down at like 8:40 without a headlamp, like no problem. Like it was still pretty light out.
Yeah, I noticed that last night. The sun is like not really like completely set until almost 9 o'clock. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I feel like it's not like we don't go through these cycles every year.
I know,
but it still hits me though. It's like it's so bright out. It's bright so late. Granted, I would think because like where Gorham is, for instance, or Pinkham Notch, where I was, because it's further north, I think it means that they probably get a little bit more daylight. Like I'm not sure how all that works, but it seemed lighter later than when I've been at home, at least lately, or around that time span. I was actually like FaceTiming Ash around like 9 o'clock, and it was like still decently light outside in Gorham.
Yeah. All it made me think was I could probably leave work and play 18 holes of golf, and it would still be light out. I'd be able to get through all 18. Yeah,
absolutely. 100%. I think as long as you started before like probably like 6:30, you're probably good, depending where you're going. Unless you're playing at Acushnet River Valley.
Oh,
and you'll be there all night.
Well, at that point, maybe there's nobody there.
That's true.
I haven't
probably close the gate anyway, so you can't do that.
Yeah, probably. I haven't played a round of Twilight golf probably since my 20s, dude.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we've done that. It's been a little
while.
Just running as fast as you can through the holes to get 18.
Try to get your money's worth.
It's always fun. So yeah, just pretty much went back to my hotel. I was staying in Gorham and getting ready for the next day to meet Trokey for 6:30. So he was staying down in Lincoln, so I think he had maybe like an hour and 15-minute ride. I had like a 15-minute ride to the trailhead, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
And at one point, I did debate waking up at one point because it was kind of cloudy Friday afternoon. Ended up getting super clear skies. We had a great day. And I debated at like 2 or 3 in the morning. I woke up and be like, maybe I'll go out and get some like star photography shots or try to mess with that. And I was like, no, Nick, you're being an idiot. You need to go to sleep. My internal dialogue at that point was just like, yeah, you need to go. You need to go to sleep. You got to like hike this tomorrow and then like drive back in the same day. So like you probably should get some sleep.
Yeah, you're maturing. You're maturing, my man.
Yeah. See, I wasn't just chasing that high. Like I was thinking about chasing that high, but
I mean, you were chasing one high. It's a little greedy.
The photography hobby was in the back seat for the hiking hobby.
Had the itch.
Yeah, for sure. Met Trokey for 6:30 at the Pinkham Notch trailhead. Now, just to kick it back, what I mentioned before, the Glen Ellis Falls and Glen Boulder trailhead parking lot off Route 16 is closed. It's under construction. I have no idea when it's supposed to open back up. However, you can still link to the Glen Boulder Trail from the Daratissima Trail. Or Daratissima Trail. I always mispronounce that. Daratissima Trail. So just know you can still catch that from basically around where Pinkham Notch is. And there's actually sort of a little side parking lot right in front of where the Daratissima is. But you can link up to Glen Boulder that way. So, you're going to say something, Josh?
Nope.
Oh, okay. You look like you're just going to say something. It's all good.
Nope, I'm in. I'm okay. Locked in, dude. I'm listening.
Cool. You locked in, loaded?
Locked in.
All right. So, the two logical ways to get to isolation, there's a couple different mentalities. So you have the Rocky Branch sort of side of it, and that trail that basically will eventually get you up to Davis Path to go to isolation, or you can ascend the Glen Boulder Trail and actually hike down to isolation and then kind of back up. And then some people will actually hike up Glen Boulder and then go down out to isolation and then go down Rocky Branch with a car spot. So that's kind of your 3 different logical options. For our planned route, we kind of switched it up a little bit. I wouldn't say like nobody does this because people have done every variation of the hikes in the Whites, but neither of us have done the Boott Spur, which is a little bit past, relatively speaking, the junction of where the Glen Boulder Trail hits Davis Path before you start heading down towards isolation. The Boott Spur is sort of a little peak on the southern saddle of Mount Washington. It doesn't qualify for a New Hampshire 48 because it doesn't have the necessary prominence. It is on the Trail Rights 72 list, which if you want to look into that, you can just Google Trail Rights 72, and I'm sure it'll come up if you want to see the deal with that organization in that list. But it is on that list. It might be on a couple other different Northeast, New England, New Hampshire lists. I could be wrong about that. I'm not entirely positive. That's 5,492 feet. So it's probably like 800 feet below Washington, something like that. And as I said, doesn't count for anything, but it has fantastic views. I've wanted to check it out for a while. So what Trokey and I decided to do, along with bagging isolation for our spring 48, is we're going to take Daratessima to Glen Boulder, over to Davis Path, out to isolation, go back up the Davis Path to where the junction is with the Boott Spur Trail, and then actually hit the Boott Spur, and then take Boott Spur Trail to Tuckerman Ravine Trail downward back to Pinkham Notch. So we made sort of this out to isolation and sort of a lollipop loop, if you will, of sorts, which is just a fun loop terminology.
Is that a hiking term?
Yeah, it is, because it's so basically when you go up from Daratessima to Glen Boulder and you meet Davis Path and then you go out to isolation, that's like the stick of it, like isolation where you go off as the stick. And then when we came back up Davis Path to where the junction of Glen Boulder and went up and over the Boott Spur and down back to Pinkham Notch, it made that the circle lollipop portion of it. So
lollipop part, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
So it was a nice little. Josh's like, I need a diagram.
I thought you made it up. To be honest with you, I thought you made up the term.
No. Okay, so to be fair, I've heard it from a friend of the podcast, Mike Cordero. So if it is made up, he made it up. But I think it's actually a pretty common term. Okay, because it does look like a lollipop.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, we figured that'd make it more interesting to grab isolation. And in total, our planned route was about 14 miles and just under 6,000 feet of elevation gain is what we ended up with. So that was kind of us approximating what I got on my watch and also what we looked at on the map. So pretty good day. It's like 2/3 of a Prezi Traverse, something like that. A lot of elevation gain for sure.
What'd you end up with total?
Like that, just about 14 miles. And I think I got like 5,800 feet elevation gain, maybe a little over that. Yeah. And again, just weird hike. I mean, the folks out there that have done isolation are kind of knowing where I'm going with this. But you start out and I'll just say once we hit Glen Boulder, because that kind of Daratessima is like there was nothing really notable on that. I hadn't done that trail before. It's just it was just a connector for us, really, for any logical purpose. But you head up Glen Boulder Trail, and Glen Boulder Trail has it kind of as a bright side. You hit tree line really quickly, but you also ascend very aggressively up basically the eastern side of a ridge leading to Mount Washington. So you pop up there real quick. Yeah, I forget the exact stats, but you're going up probably like 1,400 feet in a mile towards the end. So it kind of pops out after this scramble, but then you're above tree line, and we really lucked out with the weather this day. We knew it was going to be a good weather day. So that's kind of one of the reasons too that we were like, yeah, we'll plan a bigger hike and take advantage of it. So you get above tree line, pretty soon you'll pass the namesake of the trail, which is the Glen Boulder, which I'll have to share a picture of, but it's basically a massive boulder that's perched, and somewhat it looks precarious, like it hasn't moved anywhere for probably millions of years, thousands or whatever, but it looks almost like you could push it and like shove it into the like Pinkham Notch, like down on 16 where it is. Yeah. So that's kind of the namesake of why it's called the Glen Boulder Trail. From there, you keep making your way up, sort of along the Gulf of Slides or Slide Ravine along the side of Mount Washington. You pass over Slide Peak, aka Gulf Peak, which isn't on any list, but just sort of notable little lookout parts you'll see with cairns on them and stuff. And eventually you'll hit the junction of Davis Path. So it's a little weird because isolation's only 4,003 feet. It's just over the requirements to be a 4,000 footer. But to get to isolation from this route, you hit almost 50, I think it's like 5,150 feet at that junction.
Wow.
So you're hiking way the hell up to go way the hell down again.
Down.
Josh looks so puzzled.
Wow.
Yeah, it's such a weird hike if you do it from that way.
So the peak that you're getting to is lower than the route you're taking to get there?
You have to drop basically 1,100 feet down to go back up to isolation.
Wow. Okay.
Well, you can think of it like that. But yeah, you go all that way up to go down. The plus side is you have fantastic views. The downside is if you choose to do it out and back, or kind of the route we did, is if you're not into doing more elevation gain that day, then you're not going to have a good day, because you got to go up like another easy, like I don't know if it's 1,300 feet just to get back up from isolation to the Davis Pass Glen Boulder Junction. So, but amazing views we got up there. Thanks, Mike T, for being a good subject for me taking photos, because I hung back behind him a few times and was like, yeah, I'm just going to chill here for a bit, take pictures, and then like running up on him and staying back and like doing that. So he's a good sport. He takes good candids. So
Nice.
he's good. He's cool to hike with. We descended back all the way down, went over North Isolation, which is kind of a minor peak, down to sort of the low point, which I think was around like 3,600, 3,700 feet, and then made our way up to Isolation finally along Davis Path. Couple boggy areas because it is in the wilderness area over there, but nothing too crazy, I would say. And Isolation itself has a fantastic view out to Mount Washington, sort of the southern presidential range. So definitely, for how far out it is, I think it would be a bummer if it had no views, but it has fantastic views. And it's cool to look from that perspective as well, because you literally could see the Boott Spur and everything. And we're like, oh, you really get appreciation for like how far down you hiked from up that. And then we're also like, oh, and now we get to go back up it again.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was neat. There was a little bit of snow hanging out and a couple little pockets too you could see on that side, but not too much on the southern facing side of Mount Washington.
What was like the temperature when you like got to the peak?
Like probably like 60s.
Oh yeah, solid.
High 50s,
nice.
60s. Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. It was actually getting warm in the woods when we dropped back down from Isolation. We started going back up. I was getting pretty toasty in the woods. There's a couple spots where the sun was burning through some like fir waves and stuff. And it's funny because I think that's the first time I felt like hot on the trail, like in a while. I was like, oh damn, like could use a breeze right now. After complaining in winter or it's been too cold at times, you're like, yeah, I could really use a breeze right now, man. I'm kind of dying.
It's like almost that super humid like heat too, like in the middle when you're in the middle of all those trees. It's like it's a hangs in the air.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, and exactly. You put it really well. Like how when you're in that spot, especially in like wet marsh and trees and stuff, like you can feel the humidity almost like evaporating,
just hanging
like
there.
off everything and just soaking you. Yeah. Yeah, so we began to make our way back up the Davis Path, which again, like climbs a good 1,000+ feet just to get back up to that junction. Weather was holding, the weather was perfect. Had fantastic views. The sort of morning haze was starting to burn off more and more, and we had views in every direction. You could pick out Chikura, the moats, like I think Mike Trokey was saying, he's like, bunch of 52s, so you could pick out like 52 of the views like from the bald faces, and you got the Wildcats across from me and the Carters, and it was cool heading up to Boott Spur. You could kind of see it, and then we sort of meandered along the ridge, and eventually on Davis Path, which goes all the way to Mount Washington, we swung a right, and we're pretty much at the Boott Spur at that point. So climbing all the way back up from 4,003 feet to almost 5,500 feet. So pretty good climb. Trail not bad, really, I would say, though. After you kind of break tree line again, it was kind of easy going, good footing and stuff. And I've never been on really the eastern side of Mount Washington that much. I've never hiked Tuckerman Ravine Trail or anything. I've always headed up like Jewel and Amanuensick. And there was a fantastic perspective looking north towards Mount Washington around where the junction of Davis Path and the Boott Spur Trail were. So just really neat. Like you can see sort of the summit cone rising up in front of you, and it looks like it's really far away. I think it's like a mile and maybe like another 800 feet or so. So it's not like you're super far away, but very, very neat perspective. And got up there, we hung out for a little bit, and I did bring my Alzheimer's 48 flag too for the longest day. Nice. Which I forgot, admittedly, when we were on Saddleback in the Horn up in Maine. So got a little redemption with that. I felt bad we didn't get we had pictures at the house I still got to share, but we didn't have any really mountain pictures with it.
Yeah.
So I had that, and I had my purple shirt on all day, which super cool shirt, was great moisture wicking and stuff, and very bright and easy to pick out, especially given the terrain. And I didn't realize how bright it was until Mike Trokey was showing pictures that he was taking of me. And he actually said I looked like Grimace, I believe was the decision of the day, or a grape, whatever you want to call it. But I was probably pretty easy to pick out. There weren't too many people in bright purple shirts hiking that day. So I imagine if you were looking down from Mount Washington at Isolation or something that day, or at the Boott Spur, and you saw something bright purple, it probably was me moving across the terrain. It wasn't.
Well, that's what they wanted, right?
Yeti.
Light up the trails, light up the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah, we made them. We painted them purple for a bit. I was trying my best.
Paint them purple.
Trying my best.
Purple Mountain's majesty.
Hung out at the Boott Spur for a bit. Had a little bit more food and stuff, and started going down the Boott Spur Trail, which it's funny. I kind of ate my own words on this one a little bit, because when we were thinking about a route, Joey's like, "Oh, do you want to go back down Glen Boulder and go out, or do you want to go down Boott Spur Trail or what? And I'm like, the Boott Spur Trail can't be any more like rugged than going down Glen Boulder. So I'm like, oh, just choose the Boott Spur. And I was definitely wrong. It was pretty rugged going down. It wasn't like terrifying or anything, but it descends very quickly. The bright side was we had great views looking straight up into Tuckerman Ravine, which I have not really seen that close before. So it was pretty neat. They had sort of the snow arch was still hanging out there, and the Tuckerman Ravine hiking trail was actually still closed because of snow and stuff hanging out there. It's actually not open yet, which is kind of impressive. So we crossed quite a bit of people going down it. I suspect a lot of that was because the traditional route to Mount Washington is still closed, the Tuckerman Ravine Trail from that side. So we saw quite a few people after not seeing that many people, I would say, all day hiking down. Got some nice views and some nice pictures looking into Tuckerman Ravine. And eventually made our way down kind of slowly. It was just hard to make great time because it was wet and steep and kind of slippery in the woods. And to cap it off, at the very bottom of the Boott Spur Trail, there's like maybe a 15-foot ladder that we had to climb down. So that was kind of interesting. And it wasn't one of those stair ladders. It was like a pretty vertical ladder. Like It was right between, you probably wanted to turn around to go down it, or you could kind of low and crab walk it out, which I kind of opted to do. Not crazy to go down, but just at the end of this, we're like super close, and we're like, oh, we got to go down this ladder now that neither of us had expected, which was kind of funny. And eventually, we met the Tuckerman Ravine Trail, got back to Pinkham Notch, and yeah, headed out. And wanted to give a special shout out. So this was the 15 of my spring 48. And I forget what count Mike is at for spring seasonal, but he did inform me at the bottom. And this is kind of just like a hiker jinx superstition thing, but this was actually his finish for the second round of the New Hampshire 48 4,000 footers. So incidentally, that was Isolation's the only one he hadn't done twice yet. So yeah, we finished, and he's like, I can find it. We stopped to get water, and he kind of like surprised me sort of. He's like, yeah, we can, he's like, officially I've completed my second round of the 48. And I'm like, congrats, dude. That's awesome.
Congratulations,
I'm like, you didn't say anything all day. And he's like, yeah, well, I wanted to finish it first. I'm like, yeah, I guess that's a valid point. You can't claim it before we get out, especially with what we were hiking over on the way down.
Beware the hiker's jinx.
Yeah, congrats, Mike. That's awesome. It's a pretty solid achievement, and yeah, it's fantastic. And I'm glad I got to share that day. And yeah, we had a great day. I'm still going through pictures. I'm sure I'll be sharing them out on socials like usual.
Yeah, congratulations,
and,
Mike.
Yeah.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, seriously. And finishing on ice it, which is actually a really common mountain for people to finish their initial round on. So I'm like, I guess you fell into that trap with your second round Isolation being the last one you wanted to get back to. So that was neat. Yeah, and we had a good time. I mean, I just drove home, and that was about it. Then the next weekend, which would take us into the 8th, I do believe.
Yep, the 8th.
Yeah, the 8th. I'm looking at my calendar here. So I had really wanted to get up to do trail maintenance on the Saturday, and then actually head to Reckless later and hit the 48 Peaks Alzheimer's hiker celebration. But the weather did not look great as the kind of week went on. And it especially didn't look great up around the Northern Presidentials, around Airline Cutoff and my trail. So I was kind of looking at the forecast. I put feelers out and sort of reached out to some hiking folks and was like, hey, is anybody heading up to do any 48 Peaks for the sort of the event this weekend, and anybody hiking? Mike McLaughlin let me know that he was going to head up to Galehead with the team. So I was like, if the weather's not bad, I'll probably join you guys if you don't mind, because the thunderstorm probability didn't look great. And I'm like, I really want to get Adams for spring, because I just need it for spring to season it out. And I'm like, I just wasn't getting a great vibe. Finally, it kind of came to like Saturday morning. I got up early, so I kind of had time to sort of make decisions and stuff. And the thunderstorm chance early on in the morning was like 85% or something, around where like the Adams Point forecast was, which I'm like, even where Airline Cutoff and Madison Hut are, like, yeah, like I'd have shelter from the hut and stuff, but I just didn't think it was worth putting that to chance. Like, I don't need to be up there in a thunderstorm. Like, it just was like bad vibes. Certainly not going to be going up Mount Adams in a thunderstorm and being wet and rainy. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, after what the weather turned out to be like. So ended up driving over and met them at the Gale River Loop Road. Galehead is not a super spectacular 4,000 footer New Hampshire. It's south of just where South Twin is, and kind of part of that whole range. It sort of sits between Garfield and the Twins. But good one to do really for a rainy day. Like we're all were kind of saying, it was definitely a pretty good decision. I don't know how much the weather went into the decision of the person leading the group, Lynn, as far as like what they were going to do, but you're pretty much sheltered the whole way. You've got Galehead Hut. That's an AMC hut that sits sort of right below the summit of Galehead, so you got shelter pretty nearby. And the whole route from Gale River Loop Road is 10.2 miles round trip and 2,450 feet. So it's a long hike, mileage-wise, I guess, sort of. But the elevation gain's pretty negligible. Like, I think it's pretty realistic. It's not anything too crazy.
Nice.
For sure. To get there, you end up taking the Gale River Trail to the Garfield Ridge Trail, which is actually the AT at that point. That'll take you to Galehead Hut, and then it's the Frost Trail to the summit. And it's a totally wooded summit. There are a few viewpoints. There's one right off Galehead Summit that kind of looks into this ravine off South Twin and kind of between South Twin and Galehead. And then you've really got probably the best views actually just from Galehead Hut itself, where that kind of hut sits. There's just sort of a look into this valley below you and kind of up to the mountains. And the cloud ceiling was pretty low, so you could, I got some pretty cool shots of mountains, and you could see sort of into the Pemigewasset Wilderness, but not really like you could see the top of South Twin or like even like across to like Loon or something like that. Like it was pretty clouded in. We got started, I think, around like 8 o'clock or so, 8:30. The mosquitoes and bugs were really bad, and the parking lot, they actually weren't bad hiking that much, which was kind of nice. And I think we got maybe like, I don't know, half mile in, it kind of started sprinkling and stuff. Didn't really start raining hard until we got up to Galehead Hut, and ended up kind of pouring a little bit while we were there, and we were all kind of hanging out and like having some food and drinks, and ended up going up with sort of a subset of that crew up to Galehead, because not everybody wanted to go up Galehead again, and I can't say I really fully blame them, since it's kind of totally wooded. It's not really that spectacular when you get up there.
It's just for bragging rights at that point.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe like 300 or 400 feet up from the hut. It's like not too crazy, but it's enough where I could see like if you bagged it a bunch of times, like yeah, I don't blame people. And I realized that the first time I did Galehead was actually in June, so I didn't even get it for a new month or a new season or anything. But that's fine, because it was for a good cause. It was with a group of super fun people, many again who I've crossed on the socials or whatever, but hadn't met in person, including Eric Todd Sweet, who basically is a dude who's hiked Mount Washington like 170 plus times now. So he was super nice. And Lynn and Mike and kind of the whole crew. Shout out to Alicia and a couple different people that I kind of didn't know, and met Paul, who is this guy that he's a hiker, but he was actually had raised something like $8,000 or whatever for the 48 Peaks thing.
That's awesome.
Which was super impressive. Yeah, and hiked with Nobby too, and forgive me if I'm missing anybody, but Paul and Nobby had both sort of recently lost. Nobby had actually both lost his parents recently to Alzheimer's, and then Paul had lost his father. So kind of makes you realize, it gives a little perspective to like, it is a fundraiser and stuff, but to hear about sort of their struggles with the disease personally and stuff, like kind of hit home for me a lot. Yeah. Like we're chatting on the way down. So glad to be a part of it. Glad I could join everybody, and had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun.
Awesome, man.
And yeah, it kind of rained on and off all day, and like every time it looked like it was going to clear up, it just started sort of pouring or raining again. It poured pretty good on the way down for a good bit, so it got pretty soggy, pretty wet, and got back to our cars. I think it was around like 2 o'clock. We kind of all were in sort of little splinter groups together and chatting. I was with Paul for quite a ways on the way down, and also with Nobby for a bit too, and then with some little different groups, which happens when you have a group of like 12 people or something like that. But we're all trying to stick at least with someone. And after we got back, we sort of hung out for a little bit, and then we made our way to Reckless. So Reckless was right up the road in Bethlehem. It's like maybe 5 or 10 minutes away. It's a new-ish brewery. They've probably been around maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years now, maybe longer than that. But really good beer, really good food. And their pint house in the back was hosting the 48 Peaks sort of hiker celebration. So it's kind of neat that it was super close by. Went there, they had a food truck, beer obviously and stuff, and Stomp from the Slasher podcast was actually DJing, so that was pretty cool. He crushed it. He did an awesome job.
That's awesome.
Doing all the music. Yeah, and I think pretty much everybody in our group ended up going there after, and yeah, we pretty much just ended up hanging out, talking to a bunch of people. It was like sort of a great gathering in addition to just being a lot of who's who of people you see on the interwebs and the White Mountains out hiking on the social media page and stuff. So it was good to meet some of those people that I hadn't met before. Nice to meet some people I had met maybe or crossed on trail a few times. That was super cool.
Nice to get together and put a face to the name.
Yeah, for sure. And then I met a couple different folks that are fans of us that really like the podcast. So that was awesome. Cool. Met Bob and Paul and a few other different people that are out there listening to us and really enjoy it. And I tried to dump I think I dumped probably 30 or 40 stickers to people.
That's awesome.
Including everybody in my hiking group. At one point I was like, I'm just bad at selling stuff, man. I'm just like, yeah, so we have a podcast. Do you want here's our sticker.
Yeah, I brought hey guys, I brought stickers. Anybody want one? What's this? What's this thing for?
I know we're not necessarily involved with this event really, though. I guess we did plug it a little bit on here, and I've been trying to share out a lot of stuff, but I'm like, yeah, we got stickers. We have a podcast about hiking a lot too. So here you go. I was kind of timid, but I'm sure I'll get better at it. But see, if you were there, you would be crushing it. You'd be you'd just be
it up, dude.
Throwing stickers at people.
Yeah. First round's on the PUDs,
that'll be
boys.
For next time. That'll be, except there's 50 people and we're like, oh no.
And it was an open bar.
We need a PUDs credit card. Yeah. So I tried to at least pass out some stickers and tell people about our podcast a little bit.
I'm proud of you.
Again, thanks if you came up and said hi or whatever, thanks for reaching out and glad you listened and hopefully a few new listeners out there after I passed out some stickers.
If you're listening to
that'd be super sick.
If you're listening to us for the first time, shoot us a text. Say hey.
Shoot us a text. Just say hey. Let us know. And eventually at some point we all sort of just moved to this area behind the plant house that is pretty sick that Reckless seemed to have done recently. There's sort of a deck back there, and then they had cornhole in sort of an open field and stuff back there. I'd say open field but secluded with the woods, but either way it looked pretty sick. And we ended up hanging out sort of with the crew and Stomp and stuff and sort of picking songs and whatnot and listen to music, which was just a super fun way to end the day.
See, that's the part I would have been all in for, dude. Drinking beers, playing cornhole, picking out songs, jamming out. That's my vibe.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And for that, I think we were there. It didn't feel that long, but I'm like, man, we've been here 2 or 3 hours or whatever, and kind of things were winding down, and it was time to close up shop. Stomp was joking that he has roadies now because we helped him put away some of his gear and put away the tents and stuff. We'll send him a bill at some point.
It's in the mail.
That stuff doesn't just happen for free.
It's in the mail.
Be a beer next. No, it was fun, and it was super cool hanging out. And again, shout out to anybody I met. I'm sure I missed some names and stuff, but it was great meeting everybody. I'm glad I could tag along. Needless to say, it was definitely more fun than just doing trail maintenance. Definitely more fun than that. Had a blast hanging out with everybody, doing Galehead and hanging out. I was planning on hanging out after anyways, but it was cool hanging out with everybody all day and chatting everybody up and meeting some new folks that are all really passionate hikers. It was cool.
That's cool, man. So, there'll be plenty of other times to do trail maintenance.
Yeah. Hopefully next week we'll see if I can get up there. I was joking. I've been taking a lot of side quests to my trail maintenance duties, so it's airline cutoff needs some attention.
I'm sure
that's definitely next on my list when we get a nice day. You haven't been up there since. Tough not to be detoured.
You haven't been up there since the fall, right?
Yeah, since end of September, early October.
You don't even know what it's looking like right now.
Yeah, the alpine trails don't change a bunch typically. My thing is the drainages just get clogged, and then. Of course, I've talked about my screw wall before, but I got to keep building that wall. Got to keep building that wall. So maybe I'll get it.
I'm gonna build a wall.
It's exact. I want to just go up there and sound like that. It'd be super funny. I'm building the wall.
It's the best wall.
The wall. The best wall.
New Hampshire's gonna pay for the wall.
They're gonna pay for the wall. The AMC. Yeah, but I'll try to get up there and trim a little bit. There's probably not any big blowdowns just because of where my trail's located and do the drainage and do all that happy stuff. But yeah, man, that's kind of the hiking wrap up.
Yeah, man. That's a good recap. That's a great way to end it too. That's a great way a nice payoff for kind of that Alzheimer's research, the 48 for a cause. It's nice that they even do that to get kind of everybody together that's out there, probably pass paths with these people every once in a while. Yeah. I mean, you're up there so often too, so these are probably people that you've come across before, and it's nice to kind of all get together and kind of share that experience with one another.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to connect and put faces to the names and stuff. I met Cindy, who I've talked a little bit with on Instagram. I think she's probably the one who reached out to us. I don't know exactly how the I want to say infrastructure. That sounds like a complicated word, but who's kind of doing what as far as organizing everything. But it was nice to meet Cindy and Megan and Lynn and everything.
Tell us about the logistics.
That was pretty neat. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know all the logistics of who's doing what, but they did an awesome job. They crushed it. Reckless was super fun. Just with the event itself too, they were super proactive with reaching out, being like, "Hey, the weather doesn't look good this weekend. You might want to think about an alternative to your hike. If you're exposed a lot, you might want to think about just postponing it to a date." So many people still did hike that day. I mean, obviously for the Hike and Peeps, we hiked on Memorial Day weekend, so we were one of the earlier ones, but a decent amount of people still went out in kind of the crappy rainy weather.
Yeah.
And got out and did their thing. So that was really cool, I thought. And yeah, the fact that they're really paying attention to what people are doing and what they're up to and sort of their plans is really
yeah,
neat.
It's cool stuff.
I have to say,
That's
like,
cool.
I did not expect like text messages being like, "Hey, like you probably should think about doing this tomorrow." Like it was super well organized. So shout out to everybody that put that on. And yeah, again, shout out to Stomp for DJing and letting us help DJ a little bit too, because that was a blast. Frankly, it was a blast.
Stompy stomp.
Yeah, did a fantastic job. And yeah, like you said, great way to end it. I mean, obviously the fundraiser's still going on, people are still hiking, so it by no means is the end of it, but that was sort of, I guess, the main celebration they have for it, and it was a blast. Reckless in general is just fun to go to, and they have great beer and food, and I've been there for that. But it was cool going there for an event at the Pint House. And
awesome,
hanging out.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right,
cool,
man.
Cool.
You want to get into the descent?
Let's do it. All right, man.
All right, buddy. So, yeah, you got any plugs? You got anything? I had one show I did want to mention that I wrote down because I keep forgetting to mention it. But it's called 100 Foot Wave on HBO Max. It's all about the big wave surfers and Garrett McNamara and like Nazare and big wave surfing. So that was pretty sick. Just check it out. It was neat. It's filmed really well. It gives you some insights into the minds and sort of the vibes of those people that go out and surf like these enormous waves, and the 100 foot wave being, I guess, sort of the next pinnacle and record breaking wave height. But really cool.
That's awesome, man.
It was neat.
Especially you being into surfing and stuff like that. That's cool. I think I've actually seen like a quick clip of that show.
Yeah, it was cool. And like I said, filmed really well. Like, especially given the fact that I kind of make videos and stuff. I'm like, these guys are going out with like water housed cameras and all this stuff and just getting these sick shots, and also putting yourself very much at risk of dying at the same time. Like you gotta be a pretty experienced waterman. I take it most of the people that were filming probably surfed and really knew their way around a jet ski and what to do in like 70-foot waves. So it kind of blew my mind that they were getting these amazing shots, and like there's a 60-foot wave breaking like in front of you or to your like left or right that could just pitch you at any second and pin you underwater for like 3 minutes. So that was pretty wild.
These people that do these things are so crazy.
Yeah, man.
So crazy.
Yeah, man.
Nick, the Celtics are one game away from being your NBA champions, dude.
I know, dude. It's very,
what a
very
crazy
exciting.
Game
very
3.
Exciting.
They had a 20-point lead that got whittled down to 2 points with like 3 minutes left. I thought they were gonna blow it. Yeah.
It's nail biters. They can't just sweep and make it easy and be up by like 20 points the entire time. 15, 20 points. Yeah, dude. I think they got it this time. I don't want to be too premature, but I think
I've
we're
said
in a good
all
spot.
along, Celtics in 5. So my guess is they lose this next road game and then they win the next one at home. So that's my prediction.
Yeah. What's your prediction for what's going to happen in Boston if the Celtics win? Are people going to lose their minds?
I mean, we've seen it before. Like, we're not Philadelphia. They don't have to grease up the light poles.
2000.
I think we're.
Oh, it was a shot. That was a shot.
It's a shot at you, Philly. Relax. It's just a championship. But yeah, no, I think it'll be okay. I don't think it's going to be crazy. Most of the people that live in Boston probably are going to be working anyways. They're all doctors and lawyers. Like, they got important jobs.
Yeah.
I might take the tea and go up depending on what day it is.
Oh, they'll probably have a parade probably the day after.
Usually the day,
or
day
like
or
the
two
week
after.
after.
It's usually. That'd be pretty sick.
Gotcha.
I went to the last Celtics championship parade in 2008, so why not? Why not go again?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Hypothetical?
Do we have time for a hyper? Yeah, I was gonna say, do we have time?
There's always time. There's always time.
All right.
All right, Nick. Earth is about to be struck by a mammoth meteor. Though no one knows exactly what will happen, most scientists assume life on Earth will be totally altered and potentially eliminated. Everyone on the planet is freaking out. Suddenly, you receive a bizarre email. The government demands that you must fly to Washington, D.C. immediately by order of the president. The email message includes a first-class plane ticket. Once you arrive at Dulles Airport, military police confiscate your cell phone and wordlessly transport you to a secret hangar that houses 10 massive space shuttles. You are escorted onto one of the ships. Not counting the crew, there are 24 equally confused people waiting on board. You recognize a few of these people instantly. Bill Gates, the musician Prince, and Oprah Winfrey. When the individuals you don't recognize begin talking and interacting with one another, it becomes clear that all of them are brilliant scientists, consequential artists, or extremely wealthy political figures. The ship's captain informs all of the passengers that the space shuttle will be leaving Earth in 2 hours. He does not say where it's going, although he does insist that anyone who wants to remain on Earth is free to stay behind. You are 90% certain that you've been selected for this trip by mistake. Do you remain on board? And if you do, how will you explain your presence to the other 24 passengers? You have no idea if admitting your true identity will disqualify you from traveling.
Interesting. Always. First off, I did want to mention that my brain was going to, is this going to take an Armageddon direction? And they're going to be like, you're going to bring a nuclear bomb, and we're going to land on this thing, and we're going to blow it up, and we're going to save the world. But it took I was figured it wasn't going to be like that.
Different
turn. Hypothetical.
More like...
I think yeah.
So I think the gist is you're assuming that these are the people that have been chosen to be like saved from this catastrophic event that's going to take place on Earth.
You're going to go somewhere.
And you're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, man, I think I'm staying behind.
Staying behind?
Yeah, I think with the family, friends, you just can't.
Yeah, just take your chances.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'll take my chances.
Yeah. I would like to say, though, because I would also take my chances, right? I would take my chance to stay behind, whatever. If we get hit by a meteor, we get hit by a meteor. But if you do stay on the ship, okay? So you're 90%...
How are you going to explain to people?
You're 90% certain you've been selected for this trip by mistake, right? How do you explain to these people that your presence there when they're all these big name people? Like, all these important people.
I don't know, man. That's a good one. Hopefully you would have time to think up something.
I already know what I would say.
What would you say?
I'm super fertile. If we gotta repopulate, I'm your man.
That's good. Did you just think of that?
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I did just think of that. Super. I'm like, what would an average guy be doing on there? Oh, maybe he's got a bunch of seed, and he
like he looks like nothing, but all it looks like this dude is good for is probably procreating. Like he looks like he offers nothing else at all. Yeah,
I can make a handsome baby.
Yeah.
That's why they chose me. Yeah, so Move over, Prince, Bill Gates.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess what first came to my head is I'm just like a test subject or something. Like I'm just gonna go there and they're gonna do experiments on me, and I don't know what I signed up for.
Oh man! Imagine if
or
that was the case.
You could tell people you were an alien, something like that.
I mean, then
I don't know. In that situation, people might believe anything.
Yeah, they probably would. But imagine what those guys like. What if they didn't pick you by accident and like they did choose you for something like that? Like you are a test subject. They're like, we just need one regular guy that we can like inject with all this stuff to make sure it works before we give it to Oprah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's a Twilight Zone episode for sure.
Oh, for sure, man. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, man.
Another successful episode.
Another episode in the books. Stamp it, pack it, ship it out.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys that have reached out. Continue to reach out. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know any corrections we need to make, or if there's anything you want to hear us talk about on the podcast, feel free. We have that new text option, but you could always find us on social media at PUDs Podcast. Until next time, bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
Bye. PUDs Podcast was produced and recorded in Black Hat Studios by the Pud Boys. Find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing. Find us on social media, and we'll see you next time.